All right, gang. I have experienced many, many firsts with our guest today. Before I introduce him, I got to say he introduced me to my first ever where I watched horses racing, where I got to actually lay my eyes upon the beast.
At Keeneland in Lexington, Kentucky, the capital of horses.
Yeah. You introduced me to Booger?
No, Burgoo.
Burgoo.
When you were like, what's in it?
Yes.
All the meat's in it.
Also, do you want to hear a fun fact?
Yeah.
You are the first person who my entire family has gone to dinner with.
Really?
Yep.
And that was a wonderful experience. Your kids were awesome.
And lastly, you are the first person in almost 10 years of producing the Dealer Playbook podcast that has been sitting in my home studio at the desk where we record the podcasts.
All the firsts.
So many firsts. RC Hazzard joining me on the show from Protective. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely tickled to death and honored that you reached out and said, hey, we want to have you on the show.
Yeah, buddy. Well, I mean, could I say another first then, since I think I just listed off 5 firsts. You're the first person I felt like I had known my entire life within a matter of like 10 minutes meeting.
Is that a good thing?
That's a great thing.
Okay.
For me, because it's like he's in family. We had dinner last night. Beautiful dinner. You were gracious enough to invite me and my family, which they loved, by the way. I texted you this, but I think everybody needs to know, just since I'm saying you are Uncle RC. You might actually get the Zio title. Zio is uncle in Italian.
Oh, is it?
And when that is like our term of endearment as we carry on our European heritage in the United States, it's like Zio RC. That's like, if you get called that, my kids like, it means like you're in their hearts.
Could I be the chocolate Zio?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to tell my kids that. We were walking out of the hotel last night and my oldest Dallin leans in and he goes, "That's the coolest dude I know." I was like, yo.
That actually, when you text me that last night, it actually brought tears to my eyes, man, because if you can make an impression on a teenager nowadays, a positive impression, and they have something positive like that to say, it was unexpected and greatly appreciated. I think when I ordered dessert with the appetizers, your kid's eyelids rolled back, and your middle child, he goes, "What?"
Yeah. No, he was like, "This is my people."
I was like, "Yeah." I mean, what if you die before you get to the entree? I mean, you can't take creme brulee home in a box, but you can take a meatball home in a box.
That's right. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I'm sure that's going to become some sort of a tradition now, or at least a question before dinner. But wait. Chocolate Zio said dessert comes first. So with all of that in mind, I mean, we met through Glenn Lundy's 800% Club. That was the first time I had ever met you. Quick kindred spirits, I would say. Love everything about you, man. You're so knowledgeable about the auto industry. But of course, this is a massive industry.
Yeah.
And there are so many nooks and crannies, so many facets to the industry. I want to give my listeners the opportunity to get to know a little bit about you, how you got into automotive to begin with, and then, of course, what led you to the company that you're working for today.
Okay. So I spent 6 years in the United States Army. I had a gentleman approach me when I was 17 years old, a recruiter. "Hey, you want to join the service?" "No, I do not." And the guy says, "Well, you can do anything you want to do in the military." And I was like, "Well, I sing country music. If I can do that, I'll join." And he's like, well, you can't do that. A few weeks goes by, the guy comes back and he says, "Well, if you are as good as people say you are, I can get you a job singing country music in the Army." Kind of thought it was a trick. So fast forward, I spent 6 years singing country music in the Army, serving my country, traveling around, meeting people, and giving the people something that my grandma had described. She said, "Rashar, God's blessed you with its gift, this voice, and you have the ability to reach out and touch people's physical heart without ever laying a finger on them." Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh wow, that's something. And so when I got out of the service, I decided I want to hang up my music hat and I wanted to get into business, and I wanted to sell cars. And I'd washed and detailed cars when I was in high school, and I started going to dealerships trying to get hired, and no one would hire me. And finally, a gentleman, he just broke it down for me. He goes, "You don't look like anyone we have here." And I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're in a suit. You've got an attaché case." He said, "So we don't have any salesmen like that." He goes, "You don't have any experience." And I said, "Well, I look at it like my own business, and I can really help a lot of people." And he goes, "Well, that's not going to make you sell a lot of cars." I went, "Yes, it will." And he goes, "Sorry, son, I'm not going to hire you." And he's excused me from the meeting. And I said, "Listen, I'll tell you what, I don't know what your top seller does here or whatever, but if you hire me today," it's November the 10th, 2003. I will never forget it. I looked at a guy named Johnny Breeze and I said, "If you hire me today, I promise you at the end of 2004, I'll be the top salesperson in his entire company." And he goes, "You know, I'm going to hire you. And if you don't produce, I'm going to fire you."
No pressure.
Into 2004,
Right.
there we go. And I fell in love with the car business. And I realized, I had these single moms coming in or people that were from depressed areas, and people would judge them when they saw them. They wouldn't ask them what they needed. They were just trying to sell them something. And very quickly, my managers realized I wasn't there to sell people anything. I was there to help people accommodate whatever they need in life. So it took off. And so year after year, I was a top salesperson. And then I got into finance, and then I decided I want to be a car dealer. So I'm going to be a car dealer by the time I'm this age. So I started on that path, and everything was progressing really well. And then the economy tanked. But in the middle of it tanking, General Motors reached out to me. And General Motors gave me an opportunity to be a minority dealer candidate. And I did not know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant. And so,
Right.
I went to the schools in Detroit and met a lot of really amazing people. And they liked me because I had a different attitude on how to be a car dealer. So that fast forward, we get to the point where we'll have a deal. Well, I'm in Detroit, and we start talking about the reinsurance position, the warranty, like the other portions of the business that the dealer sells in the finance office, because I've been a finance director for a while. And the people at the manufacturer literally told me I didn't have a choice. I had to sell what they had for me to sell. That was it. It was not negotiable. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, why not? That could be like the most profitable part
Right.
of my dealership. And so fast forward, I wanted an education. So I knew a dealer who had a dealer on warranty company. So I went and asked him how it worked. And so he told me what the company was. And so I reached out to a company called US Warranty, and they weren't hiring either. So I kind of begged my way into a career with them because I said, I want this education. And the vice president of the company's name is Randy Rabbit. He was head of sales and training. And he said, "Listen, you're not going to make the kind of money you make running stores and retail." I said, that doesn't matter to me. I need this education, and only you can give it to me. And you told me you're not going to tell me unless I work for you. So please hire me. So anyway, I take the pay cut, make the commitment. I come in, and this man's just pouring information into me. And then I meet a guy named Paul Brady, and Paul Brady's pouring information into me. And I realized very quickly that I can change these dealers' lives. I mean, literally change their lives. Well, at the same time, a guy named Glenn Lundy was the general manager of Dan Cummins Chevrolet in Paris, Kentucky. And these guys are doing amazing things. They're selling, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 cars a month. And they're on the way to selling 1,000 cars a month. And they had been with their current F&I provider for way over 2 decades. And Mr. Cummins told me, he said, "RC, I've got the best deal. The only reason I'm listening to you is because Glenn says this is different, and we want to hire you to come here and work for us, and you don't want to do that. So just out of a favor to Glenn, I'm going to listen because, what do I have to lose? But I've got the best deal." And that was the first conversation I got to have with a dealer about what I could do to help them and their family. And so I said, "Mr. Cummins, I'm here to tell you, I don't care about the deal you have. What I care about is about you and your family and your organization. So this meeting's not about me. It's all about you. So tell me what you have. I'll help you go through it and decipher what you really have. And then I'll educate you on some options that you can pursue." So after about an hour and a half, he leaned back in his chair, and I'll never forget it. And he goes, Okay, RC, I don't have the best deal.
Wow.
Life changing. And he goes, I need to know more about this. So we went into this deep education mode, and it's the foundation of what I do in my career was protective. Ironically, I was protected in the military and raised in a family of people who reached out, a lot of community outreach and sold cars to help people. And now I work for a company whose name is Protective, and we are the protectors. And I've been doing this my entire life. So it makes for a really good fit. So fast forward, we put Dan Cummins Chevrolet in Paris, Kentucky into their own dealer on warranty company. And it was like pouring jet fuel on a fire. Then they just began to grow, and all this additional money that the dealer was able to make. And, in a situation like that, you've got a dealer selling 1,000, 1,200 cars a month, and he's making a lot of money in his reinsurance position. But for them to flick a switch, nothing changed in the dealership per se. So no one knew that it was theirs until they told them, but their net profit on that position went up over 40%.
Whoa.
That's a lot of money.
Right.
So it's helped their business grow, and it helps dealers' businesses grow. And that's why I do what I do now. So I have forego the path of being a car dealer because I can help some people when I do that. But in this, Michael, I've been blessed to meet and learn from dealers that are my personal clients now, or some that aren't my clients, that are just my friends, that are servants to the community.
Right.
Like Liza Borges.
Yes.
I mean, what a phenomenal woman. So I would have never had the opportunity to meet her if I hadn't been doing something like this.
Right.
Because one of her friends told her about me. And then Scott Simons is one of her dealer partners. Scott's actually from the same town I'm from in West Virginia.
Really?
Yeah. His dad was our truancy officer growing up.
So now we can, he says it was just like a ratchety old town. So now, is that legit? It's like nothing happening there?
I mean, under this collar, it's really red. I am real country. I am that redneck West Virginia guy. Yeah. It is a very rough place. But a great place to come from.
But he's the only person, I think, who every time he refers to West Virginia, refers to it in its fullness of like, I am from the great Commonwealth of
the great state of West Virginia.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, yep, there you go.
Yeah,
like, he is bought in.
Oh, it is. It's a phenomenal place. I mean, I still own a house there. I've still got family there. It's some of the nicest people you'll ever come across.
Wow.
And I get to carry that out into the world and meet people. And when you said earlier that we became fast friends, and it's like you've known me forever, that is just how we all were raised. There aren't strangers. Everybody's the same. My grandfather used to say that everybody's the same color when you turn off the lights. Think about that. And so it didn't matter where anybody was from, what they looked like, their religion, whatever. My grandfather said that everyone's a creature of God and you treat them all the same. So even in the dealers I meet, if I meet a dealer that sells 100 cars a month, I treat a dealer who sells 100 cars a month just like the dealer that sells 2,000 cars a month.
Right.
Why would you treat them any different? Both of those people have huge responsibilities on their shoulder. Both those people have numerous employees, people's colleges that are being paid for, and it doesn't make anyone any better or worse because of the number of people they have employed or the number of cars they sell. They all need that same education. So if 40% to a dealer that's selling 1,000 cars can change his life, what does 40% net profit additional do to a dealer who is selling 100 cars a month? It's a night and day difference.
It makes me think of too, like I had a conversation with a dealer partner of ours, small town, smaller store, less inventory, etc. And he was feeling quite discouraged because he says, look at all these dealers that are just knocking it out of the park, just blowing things up. And I'm like, yeah, but the legit only thing you have in common is that you work in a car dealership. There is nothing else that you have in common. There's no sense in getting discouraged over where you're positioned versus where they're positioned. All that matters is what you can do within the context of your circumstances, and forget about what they're doing. If you're a 20 store dealer and your goal is to get to 40, you can't compare yourself against a Dan Cummins that's trying to go from 1,000 to 1,500. It's a different ball game. So I love though that as I've been listening to you talk, everything that you're saying comes down to the most simplest, most in common essence of the human condition. We're all people.
Yeah, we're all people.
And as such, as life forms on this, where we're visiting this place called Earth, you will be treated as if you have achieved your highest potential. Mm-hmm. And recognizing that if that's the case, then people will actually start performing at a different level.
Amen.
Than, constantly being told what they're doing wrong.
I met a gentleman through a referral. Josh Cummins referred me to a gentleman in Miami, Florida named Arnaldo Baumann. Arnaldo Baumann he's the number 1 and number 2 Chevy dealer in the United States, and he's the number 1 Volvo dealer. So he wasn't my client yet. I was just there to meet with him for the first time. And he'd called me and he said, "You've done so many things for my friends. I'd like to meet with you also." Great. So it just happened to be right before Christmas. So I'm in the showroom, and there's probably 60 people in the showroom, and it's about 2 hours before the store opens. And he's giving out Christmas bonus checks. This man is in tears giving these checks out. And the managers and the salespeople are also in tears. They had been with him since he bought the store, and the store was selling 26 cars. Wow. That's a powerful. And he said, "This is my family. This is my family." And we kept talking, and I said, "Mr. Baumann, I'm here to educate you, sir. I'm not here to sell you anything." I'll tell all the dealers that I'm not here to sell you anything. That's not what I do. I'm here to educate you. I want you to understand what you actually have, because most companies set it up so you don't understand what you have in your reinsurance position.
Right.
And then I want to show you what your options are, or I can just show you how to get a better deal with what you have. The goal here isn't for you to be my client. The goal here is to improve your situation. And so he's like, "Okay." So we get done. And after 4 days of working together and going through the deal he currently had and showing him what he could do in his own, he decided to do his own. And so we put him in his own dealer-owned warranty company. And that Monday night when I was leaving the dealership in Miami, we were the only 2 people there. He literally gave me a hug, and him and I cried in the showroom. I get choked up talking about it now.
Wow.
But he said, "You are now part of my family." He said, "No one has ever come here to do as much for my family as you have done in 4 days." Floored, man. Floored.
Dude, this is the car industry we're talking about.
But you have to think,
right.
The car business is 6 out of 10 jobs in the United States are related to the car business. Roads and bridges, tire shops, repair shops, car dealerships, the manufacturers, the people who make the parts that create the car. And so, but none of that happens until a car is sold. And I feel like my calling from God is to be sure that the car dealer, male, female, whoever they are, always can make as much as they possibly can without negatively affecting anyone around them. Mm-hmm. So if I can help them gain another 40% net money in their reinsurance position without them having to do anything, any heavy lifting, why not do that? I'll tell you a fun fact. In 08, 09, 2010, when, manufacturers were closing stores and dealers were running out of money and things were just horrible, mm-hmm. U.S. Warranty, which is the company that's with Protective now, we did not lose a single dealer because they ran out of money.
Wow.
That's huge, man. I mean, that's huge. And so I carry that around in my shirt pocket. That really matters to me, because the manufacturers weren't sending people checks to stay in business.
Right.
And we didn't have to send them a check to stay in business, because they had all this money we helped them earn to protect their family, their business, and all the ancillary families that live through the dealership, all the employees, all the people who come in service. That's huge, man.
Wow. Man, see how quickly 20 minutes goes by?
Oh, wow. It does go by quick, then.
I know, especially when you want. I could talk about this for hours, because I love that there are so many facets we get to explore on this podcast about the car industry. that until we get to have all of the conversations, we don't really realize. We're like, oh, there's fixed and there's variable and blah, 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 automotive conference. But sit down and be able to have a conversation like this, I love, because I believe the condition of the industry is evolving, and we're really starting to catch on to this people matters portion of the business. And so I love what you're doing. I love your passion. I love that we could do this in person. How can those listening get in touch with you and learn more about Protective and everything that you've got going on?
Anyone can reach me directly. My personal cell phone number is 859-396.
We're going to break the fourth wall together. Go for it.
It's 859-396-8708. Or you can reach me on my personal email at rc.hazzard@protective.com. And when you do reach out to me, realize I just want to have a conversation with every dealer in the United States to help them understand what they have in their reinsurance position, not to sell you anything. And then I want to show you what you can do with what you currently have, or show you what you can do if you take a different opportunity. Guess what? It doesn't cost you anything, but it could be the difference in multiple digits and multiple commas. So what do you have to lose?
I love it, man. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate you having me.